Hi everyone, yes, my name is Mike. I'm going to talk about DevOps and regulated industries and try and keep pace with my slides. I also have a Twitter handle. Okay, it's normal to start with some kind of inspirational quote. So here's Richard Branson, a fantastic entrepreneur, saying, "You don't learn to walk by following the rules, you learn by doing and following over." That's really great advice if you want to be an entrepreneur. He's quite good at this stuff. The thing is, it's absolutely terrible advice if you make software that controls economies, drives cars, controls your insulin pump, or manages your critical infrastructure. It's really not a good idea to learn by failing. And that's why we have elected officials who come up with regulations. They regulate industries that are actually mission critical for us. The way that our banks work, the way that our medical devices work, all these things are regulated. What they do is, they decide that there's going to be some law enacted, or maybe just some standards that must be enforced. And then these regulations are required on companies working in these industries. So if you're a bank, for instance, what you have to do is to figure out all the things the European Banking Authority and Finanztilsyne and all these other organizations want you to do, somehow convert that into your internal processes with meetings and documentation and sign-offs, because in the end, they're going to come in, the auditors, and they're going to say, how do you meet the regulations? And then you're going to show them your really long process document. And then you have to say, okay, now prove to me that you do what you say you do. And that's where the documentation comes in. So as we all know, Excel is the second best tool for any job, with the SharePoint being the third. It ends up being a lot of manual work, filling out forms. And most companies have to do this for every change and every release. And the scope, even just in IT, of regulations is very broad, starting from, is it even legal to make this feature? Do I need to inform the customers? Right through to the software development and the IT operations. 90% of most large organizations' software process is really a software prevention process. Does anyone here work in a bank? Is it higher than 90%? It can be, can't it? There's a lot of nonsense. So if you would like a software delivery org, you want to get rid of silos, batches, queues, approvals, and gates. But that's exactly the thing that compliance is asking you to do. So how do we get rid of silos, batches, queues, and gates while staying compliant? Well, the good news is everyone in this room already knows the answer. You're at DevOps days. The answer, of course, is thank you! DevOps unicorns. DevOps is obviously a fantastic solution to this, because what you get with DevOps is you take very manual, boring processes that no God-forsaken person should have to do with their work and turn it into an automated process. So what we do is we take everything that's going from the product need to it being delivered through all the different systems and make it an automated process. And so that's the first step. DevOps is the first step to actually winning in a regulated industry. The next step is to find out where the data is. Because if your process says you're going to do code reviews, and they're going to be code reviewed by someone who didn't write the code, and you're going to use version control, and you're going to do test automation, you have to find out where all that information is in your system. And guess what? Your DevOps pipeline is a great place to do that. That's the third step. We use and when we're doing our DevOps pipeline, we go and get all this information. We find out the code review information, we get the test results, and we put them somewhere centrally. The next step is, now we know where the data is, we've got it centralized, we can actually enforce it in our pipeline. We can make decisions in our pipeline about whether this change is compliant with our process or not. And of course now, only compliant changes are in our master branch, and we can have automatic release and audit-controlled documentation. And that's all there is to it. There is a step 6, of course. Use the time you used to spend on compliance work to read on the latest service mesh that's coming out from some fantastic unicorn company, and they have a fantastic O'Reilly book. Because there will be a new one next week, I'm sure of it. So, in summary, a nice inspirational quote. There's nothing so useless as doing efficiently, that was hard. That should not be done at all. Thank you all.